Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Commander Amanda Lippert, and I'm going to share a bit about how this team has been working to bring galvanic vestibular stimulation, or GVS, out of the research domain and into the training domain. You can see by the list here that we've got a pretty eclectic mix of people from a variety of locations who have all been very passionate about using this device to combat spatial disorientation in naval aviation. So spatial disorientation is the leading cause of Class A mishaps, and there's a lot of evidence to support that. Lieutenant Jarrett Moore with the Naval Safety Command has been working to comb through decades of historical data from multiple databases that the Navy has used over the years. He and the rest of the team in the Aeromedical Division of the Naval Safety Command have produced some charts that show the prevalence of aeromedical HVACs spanning a period of about 12 years. For those who teach spatial disorientation to aircrew, you're familiar with the widely disseminated bar graph that depicts all the classes of mishaps and HAZREPs. And from that bar graph, Aaron pulled the Class A info only and built the pie chart that you see on the right. From here, we can more plainly see that spatial disorientation accounts for about a third of all Class A mishaps. Initial flight students in naval aviation train in a device called the MSDD, and that device is pictured here. Each student enters a capsule, and the demonstration lasts about 10 minutes. It affords the students an opportunity to experience several visual and vestibular illusions by rotating both the individual capsule and the entire platform containing all capsules. Worth mentioning, the MSDD is about 60 years old and has been broken for years, rendering it completely inoperable. There's a fix being considered, and that takes some time. However, current flight students are receiving no dynamic spatial disorientation training. Seasoned aircrew are required to receive an annual brief from a physiologist, and this is largely done via PowerPoint. As someone who does this training, I feel it's extremely valuable, but it's also limiting. Static simulators are decent for demonstrating visual illusions, but they can come with the added effect of simulator sickness due to mismatches between the visual system and other sensory systems. They also provide no vestibular input at all, which limits the illusions that can be demonstrated. To further decrease mishap occurrences, we can enhance spatial disorientation training. One way to do this is with GVS. So let's talk about GVS. How can we use GVS to enhance spatial disorientation training and potentially reduce mishaps? Transcranial direct current stimulation in general has been shown to be safe at much higher levels of current than are being used for GVS, and there's no long-term risk to those who use it. We can confidently say this because the device has been used in the research domain for decades. For most applications in the literature, peak currents operate around 4 milliamps. These current capabilities can be implemented in a relatively low-cost way. A typical setup is shown here on the right, and all that's required is the head strap for the electrodes to remain in place, the electrodes themselves, and electrode gel. GVS doesn't obstruct the vision, so it can be used in a static simulator environment. The two electrode setup can be used in two ways. The first is through a non-specific but disorienting waveform. A random sum of signs signal is provided to give an unreliable and unpredictable vestibular cue. The second is through providing pilots with specific replicate vestibular illusions. The potential exists for providing pilots with a host of vestibular illusions in a static environment for them to train in, and using just the two electrode configuration, we may be able to eventually provide pilots with post-roll, graveyard spiral, false roll tilt, GXS, and lean illusions. There's also different electrode montages that have shown promising results with expanding the list of illusions that can be replicated. Future work should explore finding out what the GVS waveform should specifically look like to achieve these illusions. This can be done by leveraging an observer model used to model perception. If we do this, we may be able to customize unique spatial disorientation illusions for pilots so that they can get better exposure to disorienting situations on the ground in a safe simulated environment. So we have two recommendations from the team here. One is to conduct spatial disorientation training with GVS, and the benefits and challenges are listed here. Obviously, benefits being low cost, high fidelity, it sure beats the PowerPoint that we're doing right now. And challenges are that we need to investigate using the GVS to provide that non-specific waveform that we talked about in the previous slide. And then the penultimate kind of pie in the sky is using GVS with the virtual reality training. So we could use a suite of various devices that can be worn, and we can replicate spatial disorientation illusions that have both a visual component from a virtual reality headset and a vestibular component from the GVS. We want to thank you for your time. You can scan the QR code on the left for the full list of references that were used in this presentation, and that includes hyperlinks on that link there. And then we've also included the original abstract that was approved for USNAC with that QR code as well. I'm the primary point of contact listed for this project, and I can be reached at the information there on the right. Thank you for your time.